Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
Well, hello there, sir.
Howdy, great to be with you. Okay, the NBA, very quickly.
Yes.
This is not going to be potentially a ratings bonanza. It doesn't need to be for the NBA.
No.
The NBA has a fixed rate now. Back in the old days, ratings did make a difference as to what they're doing. Not now. They have a fixed rate. And they're about to head into a new era with ESPN, ABC, who have, to their credit, have the ability to ruin the game. I'm serious. For an all-sports network, honest to goodness, some days you wonder, do they know what they're doing?
And that has become a major talking point right now because, of course, the last Inside the NBA on TNT broadcast.
Which I'll get to in a second. Yeah, it's a good point, Kyle, because I want to get to that in a second. We're on the same page here. And NBC, which rejoins the fray, and then Amazon Prime, which now enters for the first time as their streaming outlet. And I believe Amazon's going to get the in-season tournament.
Amazon's going to get the in-season NBA
so
tournament.
they get all the gimmicks. And that's, but that's fine. In other words, Amazon Prime now has Thursday Night Football. Amazon Prime now has the NBA. Amazon Prime has a slice of Major League Baseball right now. So I mean,
they're getting their way into each one.
They're doing a good job of establishing. NBC might go after Major League Baseball on Sunday night. Why? Because they have Sunday Night Football, which transition into Sunday Night NBA basketball, which would then translate into Sunday Night Major League Baseball. So that's a possibility as well.
Yes.
All right. So the ratings are not going to matter as much except for perception of the strength of the league and the game. Now, that's where it'll matter.
They're going to see low ratings and say, oh, my gosh, this is a terrible one. And it's like, well, these are two smaller market teams.
I'm saying the potential of it. Okay, the potential of it. Let's just see in real time how it plays out. I'm not going to make assumptions about how it's going to play out. This is where they will be hurt. They will be hurt in this regard. Instead of having a Boston or a New York or a Los Angeles in there, they will be hurt in merchandise.
Yes.
You're talking about, as you properly mentioned, smaller markets. And the merchandise and the fact that they're not national brands, will hurt them. You're going to have some marvelous players in this series. I mean, the reigning MVP, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and when he came out of high school, he's going through the high school ranks, the very first coach that went to see him was a guy by the name of Ben Luber.
And where is Ben Luber now, Steve?
He's now with Penn, by the way, after being at George School and then was at Binghamton. Before that, he was the first coach to start recruiting him.
Kid's darn good.
Yeah. Ben, watch for Ben as a coach as time goes. He knows what he's doing. He's developed some good players, that aside. So now you got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Williams has been the Jaylen Brown of this playoff. Holmgren is going to be a tough matchup. Okay, suddenly they're going to go from Karl Anthony Towns, who's like, I got to play defense, but I'm one of the greatest players in the game. Everybody keeps telling me that. You're not, pal. Holmgren, inside, outside, good defender, shot blocker, makes plays. Okay, that's going to be big. Plus, they're a good all-around defensive team anyway. Halliburton was outstanding. Siakam probably was properly the most valuable player of the Eastern Conference.
He was voted it, and he deserved it because he
played great.
Multiple games, 30
Turner's
points.
been really good for them. McConnell's been a little bit up and down for them. Neesmith's been good and is an excellent defender. I think there's a chance Oklahoma City wins this thing in 5, but it doesn't mean it won't be entertaining, because I think it will be entertaining. The way the Pacers play, they are befitting of their name. I know Pacers, of course, is for Indy Racing, but they play at a pace.
They run.
that can be blistering.
And that is what the Knicks saw, was that the Knicks let them run because the Knicks kept turning the ball over. We saw it in Game 6 where every Knicks turnover, all of a sudden, Halliburton's running down the court. He's got two guys running with him. It's Toppin and Siakam. Both of them can dunk. Both of them can finish at the highest of levels in the NBA. He throws to one of them. They finish. The other one, it was back and forth the entire game. And that's what the Pacers love. And the problem is the Thunder don't turn the ball over, and they have a really good defense.
See, their defense and the fact, look, the Thunder happen to be, and they've been all year. So, and this has been a show. This has been a show where we recognize the Thunder all season.
Yeah.
Okay? We recognize them all season. So this is not one of those, hey, how about this? No, we've talked about this team in December. We talked about them in January, February. I mean, we've had other topics, but believe me, we've talked about the NBA. We've quickly mentioned, hey, look, they're the best team. And here are the reasons why. Same reasons over and over again. Their defense is top-notch against a team that when they get to 120 in Indiana,
that's it.
Very difficult to beat. They only lost 2 games all season where they scored more than 120 points, including the playoffs. A team that plays at such a pace that why did they come back in the fourth quarter of the 2 games in Madison Square Garden, games 1 and game 2? Because they ran the Knicks out of gas. That was a tired basketball team in the fourth quarter. And no matter what the crowd was trying to do to lift them up, they just didn't have the legs or the jump to do it, because over the first 3 quarters, Indiana's pace wore them down. And then when they were finally vulnerable, they put them away and won the game. And so that's what you have here. You're going to have stars out there. Halliburton is a tremendous player. I mean, people I forget. I mean, for all that, the in-season tournament's a total complete gimmick, but it doesn't mean you don't get something out of it. Halliburton emerged in the in-season tournament 2 years ago, the first one, because the Lakers beat the Pacers, if I recall correctly, in the final of that. But Halliburton was really good in all the games that were played, where you kind of sat back and said, they got this guy from the Sacramento Kings, and now look at him play.
Now he is. They.
And if you're wondering where he's from, he played college basketball at Iowa State.
And this was described over the last few days, and I've appreciated where it was coming from, which is that the Pacers have built a modern-day NBA team, and they built around their star to maximize him. They got Tyrese Halliburton in 2022 and said, we're going to build this team around him. They didn't try and win now immediately in 2022. They built up around him, because you've got guys who can guard, like Andrew Nembhard, who is a guard. You've also got forwards.
Nembhard's a good player.
He's a good player.
He did a good job. He did. He would be this year's version of Drew Holiday, except he doesn't have Holiday's veteran, playmaking skills. Holiday's a terrific defender. Nembhard's a terrific defender.
But
Neesmith's a defender.
Neesmith
is a
Siakam can defend and can score. Turner can score inside, outside.
Turner's been with them 10 years. Yeah. 10 years Turner's been with them.
But they put this team together. They said Halliburton needs to play with pace and with space. Yeah. And what can every single player on that team do? Yeah. They play with pace and they play with space.
They do.
And they built this team around him, and now they're looking incredible. And something I want to bring up, which is
I still think the Thunder win in 5 because
I think they also,
the fact that the all-around ability that they have. They check more boxes to me. I mean, they check more important boxes to me.
We saw in the past the first few rounds of this NBA postseason, the Thunder are just a different level. The only person they struggle with in the entire NBA season is the dude named Nikola Jokic, who happens to be the best player in the world.
That's right.
And
that's right.
You saw that was the one time they struggled. The Pacers, by the way, this season, or the Thunder, have played 30 games against the Eastern Conference. Yeah. How many games did they lose, Steve? They played 30 games, one in the Eastern Conference. They lost once to the Cavs.
Yeah.
That was the only loss they had against the Eastern Conference.
And the Cavs were great during the regular season.
Now the Thunder are coming in with 80 wins, including their postseason. They have a chance to be tied for third highest recorded team ever in a season. The Warriors in 15-16 had 88 wins, including the playoffs.
Yep.
The Bulls in 95-96 had 87, and the Bulls in 96-97 had 84. So that's where they're going to get to if they win the NBA title.
That's right.
Is a rarefied level of winning.
Look, they were a good team last year. But I think in some ways the playoffs showed a growing pain to them. They have only had one dud in the playoffs so far, and that was that game at Minnesota where Minnesota had 140 points. And look, but everybody's going to have that.
It happens at some point. As you go cold, everything doesn't work. And also, there's only two differences.
Even the 83 Sixers and the Moses Malone 4-4-4, they lost one.
Every team at some point will lose. It's kind of how it works in the NBA.
Yep.
And you said there's the differences between this season and last season. There are three differences. Number one, they got experience last year in the playoffs, and they've all grown and gotten better. Jalen Williams, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Chet Holmgren, all of them got experience.
Yep.
Number two, they added Isaiah Hartenstein from the Knicks. They had space to add a guy.
I thought that was a huge pickup.
That
was a team that needed a part, not a star.
Yeah.
Needed a part and found the right part.
They needed two different things out of two different players. They needed someone who is a veteran, who can be a big man, who can give a calming presence, can rebound, can defend, and can play with strength and versatility. Who'd they get? Isaiah Hartenstein. They had $30 million to spend a year. They said him, and they got him because the Knicks couldn't pay him that much. And then they said, we need to go and get some sort of a wing who can defend and can bring a calming presence to the locker room. Who did they get? Alex Caruso, who might be the best at that in the NBA. Because he's
a good player.
He defended Nikola Jokic.
Yep.
And then he defended Julius Randle, who he's giving up probably, 30-plus pounds to each guy at least?
Well, again, if you're smart and you have a real feel for the game, and you have quote, enough size, okay? Let's give you an example. This is why an injury hurts an overall team. Who was Penn State turning to early in the season to be the backup 5 guy? Puff Johnson. Now, is Puff Johnson the 7-footer out there? No. Puff Johnson's 6'7", 6'8". But because he knows how to play, and then when Penn State made the NCAA tournament run 2 years ago, who was the guy that occasionally played 5? Miles Dredd at 6'4", because he knows how to play. Yes, is he giving up size? Well, Caruso knows how to play. He also really knows his role.
Yeah.
Right? I think when you do play on a team with LeBron, you understand there's a role. And it gets you into the mindset of a role. Well, when you're acquired by another team, you already have the mindset of a role. You don't have to be told, you may be told what your role is, but you already have the mindset of, I'm a role player, what do I do to help us win? Because you've already been on a team where it's like you just assume right away I'm playing a role.
He is a role player at the highest level. Yep. They have 19 players in total on their team, the Thunder, that have played this season and are in their grouping. Alex Caruso and Kenrich Williams are 30 years old. The rest of this team is 26 and under. And they have, by the way, someone who's not in this list, Nikola Topic, who was going to be a top 5 pick in last year's draft, didn't play because he tore an ACL, so he's sitting here. They have a lottery pick coming for this year's draft because of the trades they've made, and God knows how many more coming down the line. There has not been a repeat winner in the last 7 years. Everyone's been a unique winner every single year. Along with that is the NBA champion has not made it the last 6 years out of the second round. They've not made it beyond the first round of the NBA playoffs. There is a real chance both of those things get shattered next season because this team is getting better. They're not old.
There's a chance. There's a chance for it, but you know what? Okay.
I know I'm projecting, but my point is they are sitting here with
going into next season. They will absolutely be the favorite. Okay, even if Indiana wins, they'll be the favorite. Okay. But that doesn't mean you win.
I know.
All right. And this is everybody always wants to know the ending. Well, look, the Celtics brought back everybody. But there's certain things you don't count on.
Injuries.
Right? Yeah. Suddenly you look out there and Jaylen Brown is playing at less than 100%. And he did for a significant period of time during the season. Kristaps Porzingis was playing at less than 100% of times during the season. And eventually then you lost Jason Tatum, and you're not going to have him back for probably 9 months.
Yeah.
And he's going to be less than 100% when he comes back. That's just the nature of the injury. But I'm pointing out that in that journey, there's so many twists and turns that happen in any journey during the course of the season that things that you just don't realize could happen, you don't count on. Somebody on another team develops that you didn't think would develop, and suddenly they're better. Suddenly you have matchups that don't work for you. Suddenly your depth is tested. It's such a marathon. And and the part that's always difficult for fans, for example, and maybe even media to some point, marathons are literally one step by step. All 26 miles, 385 yards. Okay? You don't just do the Rosie Ruiz and jump into Cleveland Circle. Okay? Hey, we're at the end. Okay, great. And so, because this is something with the Penn State football season that's coming up. They're great expectations, right? But it's also a step-by-step process for the team, not for the fans, okay? But for the team. Same thing with Oklahoma City. First of all, winning the first one is the most difficult one because guess what? They have nobody on this team that's ever done it before.
The only one is Caruso. I think did it.
Yeah. He may have been with the Lakers and the bubble. I don't even know if that counts.
So Caruso was 1-1.
Right, and Pascal Siakam's the only one on the Pacers that has won because he won with Toronto with when they had that terrific team with Kawhi and Van Fleet and Anunoby, and I mean that was really a well put together team.
Yeah,
but so. It's a step-by-step process. Now, for example, the Stanley Cup Finals a rematch. Now, Florida's in their third. But the difference now is Edmonton is in its second. So Edmonton has now been through the media rush. Edmonton's been through the expectation part of it. They understand now how the whole thing works. It's not foreign territory for Connor McDavid to go in now to get the mass media or to Leon Draisaitl to have hey, they're going to go in. They know what it's about. They can channel it better. It took them a little while last year. They were down 3-0, battled back, won the next 3, forced to Game 7 where Florida was able to dominate and win. They've also changed, right? And this is where we talked about Oklahoma City being a better defensive team now. They became a better defensive team this season because they knew after last year's playoff they had to be. Edmonton has gone from the freewheeling, hey, they're going to go out and win the game 7-4, right? To now, watch how Edmonton plays. They're a really good defensive team now. McDavid uses his speed defensively. Draisaitl uses. Now, they're not going to have Hyman. Hyman hurts. Okay, Hyman was one of the power play lines, things like that. He's one of those important factors on that team. But see, they learned a valuable lesson last year that they had to be better in front of Stuart Skinner and had to help him out the way Florida helped out Bobrovsky. Yeah. But then again, Florida made itself better when they got Brad Marchand from the Boston Bruins. So, experience in this spot. Neither team has it in the NBA. Both teams have it in the NHL. But that experience of being there, right? I mean, you can't put a price on the fact that you've been there, that you've gone through the process. And back to Penn State football for a moment. They had to go through the process of a playoff. They had to go through the process of then going to Glendale and being in the playoff. The process of going to Miami and playing in the Orange Bowl in the playoff. And all the media expectations that go with it, all the outside noise that goes with it. I mean, these are all things that these pro players are all dealing with for the first time. It also is important to point out the outstanding talent evaluations by the general managers and the coaches on these teams in the NBA Finals, because they recognize Halliburton could be a big-time player for them, and they acquired him from Sacramento, and they gave up Sabonis as one of the players to do it, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
Right? They bring him in and said, hey, we can build around him, and we're going to keep a guy like Turner. And you know what? If we add a Siakam in who's been there, done that, that really helps. You know, they drafted McConnell. Yes, McConnell did play against Penn State in the Jordan Center when he was at Duquesne. All right? But they bring a guy like that in. They get a Neesmith. Oklahoma City. As you know, I have never been a big Paul George guy. I have felt he has received more publicity that I'm big, because I think Paul George to me is a Karl Anthony Towns. He's in the Hall of Very Good. ESPN thinks he's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Okay? No, he's in the Hall of Very Good. He's had some very good moments, and he's had some other moments where you're like, okay. And I remember when he was at Oklahoma City, I'm like going, well, why did they acquire him? I mean, I'm serious.
I know.
When Oklahoma City acquired Paul George, I was like, why did they acquire him? Well, then they dealt him to the Clippers, and they got SGA. And I was like, well, they made a dramatic improvement there. I'm talking about Oklahoma City. Because, I watched that kid play, and I'm like, he's got something to him.
They got SGA. They also got the pick that, as we've discussed, got Jalen Williams.
Yep.
So, like, thanks, LA.
They got their Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown all in one deal,
and they also got more. And like they traded for Shea. In that trade, they got Jalen Williams. They undrafted free agent Lou Dort.
Dort, by the way, is an excellent defensive player.
He is a behemoth down there.
He is a terrific defensive player. He will get very little publicity.
Well, he's got the nickname the Dorture Chamber, which is a top 5 nickname for me in terms of player name.
But he is as close to a lockdown.
Yeah,
you know, he's like Mikal Bridges. Bridges, in a lot of ways, the
difference is
player.
he is humongous.
Oh no, he's built like a brick house.
They signed Isaiah Hartenstein because of all the picks they've had. They were able to draft Cason Wallace, who, by the way, incredible defensively. Yeah. Alex Caruso's gone on a podcast and said he doesn't know defensive schemes. He just, when Alex Caruso asks him, how do you defend? He just says, well, my guy is there and the ball is in his hand, so I'm just not going to let him get past me.
Yeah.
Imagine being that. He's 20 years old and just being like, yeah, I'm just not going to let him go beyond me right now.
Right.
That's a heck of a thing. Chet Holmgren, drafted. Aaron Wiggins, drafted.
By the way, Holmgren was second overall
pick. Isaiah Joe, drafted. Caruso, traded for. Jalen Williams, drafted. Like, you're on the list. They drafted, or got because they got a pick, drafted. Like, just all these guys, but Hartenstein and Caruso.
But they made the proper talent evaluation. They looked at Paul George and said, I don't quite see it. They dangled it out there, and the Clippers, who were desperate to get a big three, to put somebody with Kawhi, I mean, ponied up in such a way where you're like, I mean, I remember when it happened, thinking, Oklahoma City just fleeced this group.
I know.
Right? And then I felt the same way with the Sixers. Hey, we got Paul George. I'm like, why?
And I know the idea of assuming, not good to assume, but we are sitting here today, and the reason I brought this up is, regardless of what happens in this finals, the Oklahoma City Thunder sit here with a star trio of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren. A trio you can trust is going to be there for the next few years. They can all sign contract extensions this summer, and they're probably all going to and get a lot of money for it. But you have those guys. You then have role players around them. You have a lot of young players. You have a lot of draft picks. You have a lot of this, that, and the other, that they are set up in the best way possible going forward. Because you're sitting here with these NBA rules where the Celtics are now going to feel it because they're going to have to trade somebody. They're in the second apron. They cannot do a lot in free agency. I think someone's getting dealt.
I think Drew Holiday's out.
I would agree. But they're sitting here with the fact they have to do that. The Thunder
Which is too bad because he's
great.
He's the glue to what they need.
He is. And the Thunder sit here. They don't have to do that. Right. And if they at some point get into it in the next few years, oh no, we trade that guy away. Oh, we have 7 other guys behind him because they're 14 players deep in terms of good, talented guys. And they're all developing because they're almost all under 26 years old. They're all like 22, 21 years old. Cason Wallace isn't a great offensive talent. He's 21. You're sitting here, and Chet Holmgren is 22. He's getting better. Jalen Williams, 23 and getting better. A.J. Mitchell, who played in the playoffs already, is 22. Jalen Williams, the big man from Arkansas, is 22. Like, you go down the list, and there's all incredible. You mentioned Penn State football, by the way.
Yeah, well, I want to get to TNT first before we get to that.
Let's go to TNT first. So it was the final Inside the NBA broadcast on TNT after the Knicks-Pacers playoff game. And now the transition is coming to where they are going to move to ESPN. And the biggest difference before you say your piece, that you sit here and look between the two, between ESPN and TNT, is the way they structure their commercials, which is what people have brought up. Because TNT gives Chuck and Shaq and Kenny and Ernie like 25 minutes of just, you guys talk.
Yep.
Go until you're done and we'll throw it a break when you're ready.
Yep.
ESPN does these minute and a half things where they blast through 5 things in 30 seconds or less each, and then they're off to a commercial during the halftime. It's like 5 of them.
Well,
so we're sitting here and thinking, is ESPN going to do that to them? Because if they do, it gets rid of what we love about the show of Inside the NBA, where these guys just go on these rants, they go through everything, and it endears us to them because we hear everything. We hear their actual emotion, their thought, and because I want to hear what Shaq and Charles Barkley and Kenny the Jet have to say, because they're incredible players. Like, Shaq knows what he's talking about when it comes to big men because he's the most dominant big man of all time. And Charles Barkley,
Will Chamberlain's pretty good.
So he's number 2 all time. My bad. Charles Barkley, one of the best one of the better big men of all time, one of the better forwards of all time. I want to hear what he's got to say because he also understands basketball pretty well. Kenny the Jet Smith won some NBA championships. He also has an idea of what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So we all want to hear what these guys have to say, but if they have 30 seconds or less to say their piece, we can't.
Well, it's more than that. It's way more than that. Sure, the time frame is one thing. TNT did this for 36 years. And you know what they never did? They never talked down to the audience. They just talked basketball with them.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, all the play-by-play guys, all the analysts. I don't care whether it was Mike Fratello. I don't care if it was Steve Kerr. Right? Or Reggie Miller. Reggie Miller, I thought, had an outstanding Eastern Conference final. I mean,
I was shocked at how good it was.
Well, but you know what? The first time I really got a feel for being around Reggie Miller was in the 2011 NCAA tournament because TNT did that game between Penn State and Temple. And so at the open practice, Reggie Miller was there, and it was interesting to be around him, how smart he is. Yeah. And it showed through. I thought Stan Van Gundy did a great job. But there are a bunch of other people, from Kevin Harlan to everybody that they've had over the years, Brian Anderson and so forth, that just, Jim Jackson, they do a great job, okay? And they just talk basketball to you. The guys in the studio, they started out in the usual, let's script what we're doing. And to have a gem of all gems like Ernie Johnson.
Oh, my gosh. The best.
Right. Running it, but, he grew up in it. His dad, after being a major league pitcher for the Braves, got into broadcasting. His dad was a terrific broadcaster for the Braves. Okay? But Ernie Johnson is the definition in sports broadcasting of the Rock of Gibraltar. You always want to work around people who can make you better. Always. Don't desire to go in to be the hot shot, okay? Always desire to work with people who make you better. Then in turn, it's your job to then make other people around you better, okay? There's a dual responsibility. Ernie Johnson makes every single person he works with better. And what they did was years ago, and I apologize for not remembering the name of the producer, okay? But they said, guys, no more scripts. No more scripts. Just talk. And, Ernie Johnson, who, of course, had been used to scripts, teleprompters, things like that, was like, okay, let's see how this goes. And guess what? It was brilliant. And for all the comments that Charles Barkley will make where you're like, oh, and the kidding around with Kenny the Jet Smith, okay, or the Jet running back to the big screen to show you some play with his sneakers on, right, or Shaq, whatever.
Shaq falling over himself.
Right. Okay? But that's all part because they understand it's a show. Okay? They understand it's a show. And it happens to be a show that's around basketball. So they know there's entertainment value and they've got the personalities to pull it off. But when you sit down and actually listen to what they say, it's good stuff. And ESPN has repeatedly failed at studio shows. They failed at studio shows. Oh, no, they're the greatest. No, actually, you sit there, I can't watch them.
The only studio show I can remember at ESPN, so you had, what was it? MLB Tonight was great, and then Sunday NFL Countdown when it was Chris Berman and Chris Carter and like that Keyshawn and that grouping. Those are the two shows I can remember.
Tom Jackson.
Those are the shows I can remember where I was like, they know what they're doing and they work and they flow and they just operate.
Not watch any of their pregame shows. I mean, right now, of their studio shows, Steve Levy, Messier, and Subban may be the best.
Yeah.
I'm being besides college football game day.
Yeah, that is a different category of show.
It's a different category of show. Right? TNT, both hockey and they're just better. Right? Because they've got a different attitude about it. And it's not like, I think it's LeBron's team. I could care less whose team it is. Tell me why they're winning.
And you know what?
Tell me why they're losing.
I'm gonna bring it up. I'm gonna do it. Soccer, the CBS sports show on with Paramount and with Kate Abdo, Thierry Henry, Jamie Carragher, Micah Richards. They're in that category now.
Yeah.
They just let them go. They took the TNT model of these people. Thierry Henry is one of the greatest players of all time. Right. Jamie Carragher, incredible defender. Micah Richards played for some of the best teams in the world. They let them go. Kate Abdo, by the way, during the Champions League final this past weekend, she spoke to different players in different languages. And every single one, you could tell she understood what they were saying. She's talking back and forth to them. Incredible. That whole show is there. They are great. And ESPN's soccer coverage is bad, and TNT's is bad, but TNT knows that their hockey coverage is great.
Yeah.
Their basketball coverage, as we've said, is the gold standard.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
it's crazy how ESPN just keeps missing.
I mean, it's interesting in this business. Okay. They're getting all the platitudes. Number one, I don't know Jimmy Pantero. He runs ESPN. So don't know him, whatever. If I could give him some advice, those guys are going to do that show from Atlanta. Don't talk to them. Let them do their thing. Don't make suggestions. Don't do anything. Let them do their thing. Let the guys in Atlanta do their thing. You just air it.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that would be my advice to them. Don't touch it. Everything you touch turns to you know what.
That brings up something I want to. This is just a personal thing for me. I've noticed that ESPN is doing this a lot more. Of course, they did it with Pat McAfee. That it was more of a mutual thing where they brought him in. His show stayed the same. He had creative control. They're bringing in the Rich Eisen show. They're going to go onto the radio, the same thing. Right. And Rich said the exact same thing. They're going to bring it in, but they're not. ESPN's not touching a thing.
Right.
And my assumption would be they're going to probably do the same thing with inside the NBA. If they were smart, they would do that. Right, not touch a thing. Don't put their ESPN logo on it, but that's it.
Don't touch them. Don't even call them.
Yeah. No. You say, hey, we're adding a little bug in the bottom right corner, tiny ESPN. That's it. That's all you do.
The only reason I would ever call them is just say, look, I just want to let you guys know we love what you're doing. Yeah. Don't worry about it.
Hey, check cleared. You're all good.
Right. It's just enough contact to let them know you care.
Yeah. And like, hey, if you need anything, we're here.
Right.
And like,
but just do your deal.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about all the platitudes that TNT's game coverage gets. But this is a business where, and I was asked about this in terms of what I've been doing. And I said, look, a month after I'm done doing Penn State football or basketball games, I said, people are going to forget I was ever there. I'm sorry, but that's just okay. People are now would say, "Oh no, you're not losing me yet." All right, but when it happens, A month after, into the season, a new guy's going to be there. People are going to love him, her, whomever's doing the play-by-play. They're going to love him. And you know darn well, it's like, oh, yeah, he used to do it. He was fine. Right? Well, it's the same thing with this. TNT, all the platitudes. They're going to start next season. You're going to forget TNT even did the games. It'll be NBC's turn. It'll be Amazon Prime's turn. It'll be it'll be Noah Eagle's turn. It'll be Mike Tirico's turn. And it's just a question of where you find it. All right?
Yeah.
Now, you can look fondly back on, oh, yeah, they were great. But that's just the nature of this business. Yeah. Okay, what was your Penn State football?
The College Football Hall of Fame 2026 ballot has officially been released.
Oh, yeah.
The two Penn State players that are on the ballot are Courtney Brown and Keyjana Carter. Syracuse has Marvin Harrison on there as well. Amongst the multitude of players, we have Mark Ingram from Alabama. You've got Aaron Donald from Pitt, amongst dozens of others. There are like 50, 60 names on this list. It's huge.
Well, Donald was legitimately a great player at Pitt.
Adamakin Sue is on here, speaking of defensive linemen.
Adamakin Sue he will get in, no question. He was as dominant a player when he played as you're going to find, where you sit back and go, wow, what a player he was in his time. Aaron Donald, as great as he was in the pros, he actually was a terrific player at Pitt. I talked about him many times on the show about how good he was at Pitt. Keyjana Carter is obvious. Keyjana Carter's biggest problem in not winning the Heisman in 1994 was Kerry Collins. You're like, well, why is Kerry Collins the problem? Because you had two guys on the same team.
And you split votes.
Right, you split votes as opposed to the late Rashaan Salam, who was the show at Colorado, and he was the show at Colorado. He didn't have Kerry Collins. And Keyjana Carter, power, speed, and I remember he was so dominant when he ran the ball, and that offensive line, of course, had a lot to do with it. Goon and Bucky Greeley and Jeff Hardings and Andre Johnson. And Marco Rivera. You talk about a great offensive line. Not good, great offensive line. And Kyle Brady is that tight end. Unreal. But I remember one time I'm watching, and it was a play, and he gained 3 yards. And I remember watching, going, what the heck went wrong on that play? And then I had to stop myself and say, you idiot, he just gained 3 yards. It wasn't that bad. Right? That's because you expected every play.
The standard was so high.
Okay, you expected every at-bat to be Aaron Judge in the regular season. No, I didn't say playoffs.
I know. You expected to be hit 250 feet to a gap or a home run.
In other words, he's going to hit a home run. He's just that good. Courtney Brown is somebody who, on and off the field, did everything the right way. He was the first overall pick in the NFL draft. He went to the Cleveland Browns, and then LeVar went second to Washington. But Courtney Brown was a great technician. I need you to rush at this angle. He would rush at that angle. I need you to not give up the edge. He wouldn't give up the edge. I need you to get to the quarterback. I'll get to the quarterback. I can't let you lose contain on the quarterback. They never lost contain because he wouldn't allow it. Size, length, speed, attitude, intelligence. That was Courtney Brown, who was just a great player when he was here. And not only that, the number of times that he was held repeated, to a point where, I'll be honest with you, if you're the head of officiating in the Big Ten in 1994, which I think was Dave Perry at the time, and Dave was a great official, great job. A lot of things I respected him so much. I do. I have a lot of respect for him. But that was embarrassing. I mean, there'd be pictures in the paper, being grabbed in the shoulder pad, no penalty. Crowds like, oh, I mean, he got held. Abdul Carter? Okay, so let's go back to 1999. Abdul Carter in 2024 and Courtney Brown in 1999. Yeah. Same thing. Grab, pull, yanked. Oh, yeah. Holding. I didn't see anything. You call it on every play. Oh, really? Well, why don't you call it like a couple times?
There was a play this season where Abdul Carter was had his left arm trying to get to the quarterback, and his arm was being pulled backwards. Yes. And they were like, no. No foul,
and
nothing.
That was Courtney Brown. Courtney Brown was held repeatedly by people. Call it a couple times, once each half. You clean it up.
Yeah.
Right? But, that's a side story to this, but it was part of his story. His stats could have been even higher. Right? If they would lay off, clutching and grabbing, because they couldn't contain him.
Yeah.
Right, so those are the two guys, right? Marvin Harrison.
For me, I wanted to bring him up as a Syracuse guy.
Marvin Harrison's pros pro. Okay, he was a pros pro in college, and ended up being a pros pro in the pros. Let me say that. Now I'm taking Marvin Harrison not at Syracuse at the moment. I'm taking Marvin Harrison now with the Indianapolis Colts. We can talk about Peyton Manning making him better. But we can realistically talk about Marvin Harrison making Peyton Manning better. And he made Reggie Wayne better. A pros pro, and carried himself as a pros pro in college at Syracuse, where he was a great player. And that's why the Colts looked at him and said, he may not have had some of the natural gifts of Reggie Wayne, for example. And Wayne's a great player.
Yeah.
So, okay. But Wayne's got some height. He's got some speed. Remember that Super Bowl touchdown he got behind the Bears, and I think it's the only Super Bowl touchdown Manning thrown in his career, if I recall. Well, no, he may have
threw Pierre Garçon, caught one against the Saints.
Yeah.
He threw a couple
in
against
a
the
loss.
Saints.
Yeah. That was it. In throwing in the Denver, the Carolina game, he handed the ball off.
He handed the ball off and said, "Hey, Von Miller, you want to get a few sacks for me? Thank you." Great job, Von.
Gotcha. All right. But that's Marvin Harrison. Okay. When you're a wide receiver and you have the ability to make people around you better, normally it's the other way around. But he made multiple people. He made Manning better. He made Wayne better. He's just a terrific player. Sue was dominant at defensive tackle, as was Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
And when you can get that kind of pressure, number one, they both played the run beautifully. But when you can get that kind of pressure up the middle, which quarterbacks hate. See, this is where Zane Durant comes in this year. Up the middle, they hate getting pressure in their face. For obvious reasons.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody wants anybody in their face.
No.
Right? So.
And there are 79 players in the FBS rank and 9 coaches.
They also changed the rule.
Yes.
It was 60% winning percentage to get into the hall, to be eligible for the hall.
And now it's 59.5.
They changed it to 59.5 because that gets Mike Leach in. And being considered.
Yeah.
Also, for consideration, Les Miles and Rick Neuheisel both have slightly higher winning percentages than Mike Leach.
So now they are up. There are 79 players and 9 coaches.
Doesn't mean they're getting in.
Yeah, doesn't mean they're getting in, but now they're eligible. So 79 players and 9 coaches are now up for the FBS, and 100 players and 35 coaches from the divisional ranks. And the voting will wrap up on July 1st. So we've got a little bit of time awaiting us, and now we get to wait and see who ends up in the College Football Hall of Fame. Some coaches nominated include we've got Gary Patterson, Chris Peterson, Tommy Tuberville, amongst others. Sebastian Janikowski, the kicker's up for it. One of the few kickers to get drafted.
He's a great kicker at Florida State.
So that is going on. And then other Penn State stuff, Saquon Barkley was named and photographed as the Madden 26 cover star. It was him hurdling a guy. The backwards hurdle, I believe, was what it was.
It was the Jacksonville game.
Yes, it was the Jacksonville game, hurdling the Jacksonville player. You cannot see his face. They blurred out the helmet, so you can't see his Jacksonville. But we all know what it is. It's his backwards hurdle. So Saquon Barkley is now the Madden cover star.
Well, I told you about that play where Sunday night practice, and Kenny Sanders comes over. He has his phone, and I'm with Dr. Greg Billy and Dr. Wayne Sebastianelli. And he comes over and says, "You got to see this Saquon play." Well, the beginning of the play, Saquon goes out and he does this spin move to get by. And Dr. Billy goes, "Wow, look at that." And Kenny says, "No, wait."
That is nothing, sir.
And then all of us went, "Whoa."
Yeah. I remember seeing it on my phone and I was like, did he just hurdle him without looking?
Yeah.
And then to wrap up here, the NCAA tournaments are going on for college baseball. The number 1 seed and number 2 seeds in the nation, Vanderbilt and Texas both knocked off. Wright State knocked off Vanderbilt, and Texas was knocked off by UTSA. And at the same time, I believe Little Rock, Arkansas is currently forced LSU, number 6 in the nation, to a 3rd game playoff going on today. Yep. So college baseball's having itself a little bit of fun right now.
And softball's having some fun too, because Texas was the number 1 seed. They got knocked out. I believe Oklahoma is playing Texas Tech today. Yeah. Texas Tech, of course, was able to get that transfer pitcher from Stanford that they paid a million for, because they have the 2 billionaire brothers.
And by the way, Texas Tech...
and one of them is married to a former Texas Tech softball player or something like that.
Texas Tech, I believe they're playing UCLA, and with like 2 outs, they stole home. Yeah. Which was... Stealing home in general is crazy, but stealing home with 2 outs...
Yeah.
I would lose my mind as a coach, but like they did it.
Especially
it worked.
And look, the mound's not 60 feet 6 inches.
Yes.
So...
And to wrap up, the last thing here... The Rockies have lowered the MLB standard.
9-50
is history for all the wrong reasons.
9-50. They have now endured their 4th 8-game losing streak this season. It's their 4th 8-game losing streak.
It is the worst record through 59 games of any major league team in the modern era since 1901. They've been swept 10 times in 20 series, tied for the most sweeps through 20 series, tied with the 1962 Mets, 1970s Brewers, and the 94 Athletics. And going deeper, they are the 3rd fastest team to the 50-loss mark in MLB history, behind the 1884 Kansas City Unions and 1876 Cincinnati Red Stockings, who got 50 losses in 57 games. Wow. I thought last year was bad with the White Sox. The Rockies said, "Hold my beer, Steve."
I'll tell you the difference with the White Sox that I see compared to Colorado. Because I saw the White Sox play earlier this year. I saw them at Fenway against the Red Sox. They have pitchers. Okay. Now, I know they dealt Garrett Crochet to the Red Sox.
But they had Crochet.
No, but I'm saying, but they have pitchers. You can see their starters. You can see it in their relievers. What they don't have is an offense. Right? I mean, it would help if Luis Robert caught fire. But that's the area why, when you look at the White Sox, they're losing a lot of 4-3 games. Like they're losing some 3-2 games and so forth. The Rockies are just getting blown out.
Yeah.
Right? Like the other team shows up, you might as well put it's 7-0 when you start.
Yeah. They have to score 10 runs to be in the game.
They don't have pitching.
Nope.
And they don't have an offense. And their defense is mediocre. And if you don't have any of those 3, you might be in trouble.
Thank you for listening to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, a 7 Mountain Media production. Come back at 11 every weekday for analysis of the latest happening in the sports landscape. From college football to European soccer, Steve and Kyle cover it all on Sports Talk with Steve Jones.